What if I told you that one small decision, just one act, could completely change the fate of an entire country's ecosystem? It all began with just 24 rabbits. Sounds unbelievable, right? But this isn't some wild tale. This is a true story, and it's called the Rabbit War of 1859, a battle that Australia never saw coming, and one that no one could have predicted would have such a catastrophic impact. Stay with me until the end, because this story is far more explosive than you could ever imagine. In 1859, Australia was on the brink of an ecological disaster. It all started when an English settler named Thomas Austin introduced 24 rabbits onto his property in Victoria. Austin, an avid hunter, wanted to bring a piece of his homeland to Australia and thought releasing rabbits would be a fun and practical way to recreate the hunting experiences he'd had back home. Little did he know, this small act would set off a chain of events that would forever change the land down under. Now, let's talk about these seemingly harmless creatures. Rabbits. Those cute, fluffy animals we all recognize. Might seem innocent, right? But here's something you might not know. Rabbits are among the fastest breeding mammals in the world. A female rabbit can give birth to anywhere between 4 and 12 baby rabbits in a single litter, and she can have up to 6 litters in a year. That means that, in just 1 year, a single pair of rabbits could produce dozens, if not hundreds, of offspring. Given this rapid reproduction rate, it didn't take long before the small number of rabbits Austin released grew into a massive population. By the 1860s, their numbers had exploded, reaching an estimated 10 million. Imagine that. 24 rabbits turning into 10 million in just a few short years. The damage was swift and relentless. These rabbits didn't just nibble on crops, they were stripping the land bare. They consumed grasses, leaves, and even the bark of trees. But it wasn't just the immediate destruction of crops that caused the most harm. The real problem lay in how rabbits affected the soil. Their feeding habits, combined with the constant digging of burrows, led to severe soil erosion. This made it difficult for native plants to grow, which in turn led to the destruction of important habitats for native animals. The once fertile farmland quickly became barren. Australia's government quickly realized that they had a major problem on their hands. At first, they tried traditional methods of control, such as hunting. But with millions of rabbits spreading across the country, hunting alone was never going to be enough. So, they resorted to a more systematic approach: poisoning. Arsenic-laced food was scattered in areas where rabbit populations were most concentrated. But again, the sheer number of rabbits made this a temporary solution at best. The poison didn't reach every rabbit, and the survivors continued to reproduce at an alarming rate. But the situation got even worse. As the rabbits spread across the country, Australia took extreme measures. One of the most famous solutions was the construction of the rabbit-proof fence, which stretched for over 1,800 miles across Western Australia. The idea was to contain the rabbits within a specific area, but the fence proved difficult to maintain, and rabbits found ways around it. It wasn't long before they had crossed the fence, continuing their destructive path. So, what made this problem so unique? It's the speed and scale at which the rabbit population grew. Unlike other invasive species that might take decades to become a real problem, the rabbits exploded in number within just a few years. This rapid multiplication was partly due to the fact that Australia's native animals had not evolved to deal with such a high reproductive rate. And to make matters worse, rabbits are incredibly adaptable. They found food sources where others couldn't, burrowing into the land to avoid predators and the harsh Australian heat. The economic and environmental toll was staggering. For farmers, the rabbits represented not just a nuisance but a threat to their livelihood. Crops were destroyed, and pasture land became unusable. For years, farmers tried everything they could to protect their land, from erecting fences to introducing natural predators like foxes and wild dogs. But none of these solutions were effective enough to keep the rabbits in check. The long-term ecological impact of the rabbit war was profound. By the time the government took stronger action in the early 20th century, The rabbit population had reached such massive numbers that they had irreversibly altered the landscape. The native species that once thrived in Australia were pushed out of their natural habitats, and the land became far less productive. Even today, Australia is still dealing with the consequences of this ecological crisis. The legacy of the rabbit war isn't just about the rabbits themselves. It serves as a reminder of the dangers of introducing non-native species to new environments without fully understanding the potential consequences. Today, Australia has some of the strictest biosecurity laws in the world, largely due to the lessons learned from the rabbit war. The introduction of rabbits was a pivotal moment in Australia's history, one that still affects the country's wildlife and farming industries. But there's another layer to this story that we can't ignore. The fight against the rabbits wasn't just a struggle for control over nature, it was a battle against time. As the rabbits ravaged the land, the people of Australia were forced to innovate, to come up with solutions that would help them reclaim their country. The introduction of the rabbit-proof fence, along with biological control methods, like the introduction of myxomatosis, a virus that infects rabbits, were part of this long war. But even with these efforts, the rabbits didn't disappear completely. They had already left a permanent mark on Australia's ecology. Today, the rabbit problem in Australia still exists, though the population has been somewhat reduced. Rabbits are considered one of the most successful invasive species in the world. It's estimated that over 200 million rabbits still roam Australia, causing ongoing damage to the environment. Despite the ongoing efforts to manage their numbers, the battle isn't over. This brings us to the final lesson of the rabbit war. The consequences of human intervention in nature can be far-reaching and irreversible. What may seem like a harmless decision, introducing a few rabbits for hunting, can spiral into a catastrophe that affects generations. The rabbit war serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of understanding and respecting the delicate balance of ecosystems, because once something is unleashed, it's often much harder to contain. So, the next time you hear about an invasive species or a seemingly minor ecological problem, remember the rabbit war of 1859. It's a cautionary tale, a living history lesson, and a reminder that in nature, even the smallest of actions can have monumental consequences. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more incredible tales of history, mystery, and nature's unexpected battles. Stay tuned for more.